Artificial intelligence, or AI, is becoming increasingly ubiquitous in our everyday lives. From our cell phones to our smart home integrations, even the way we write and create can be influenced by AI. In many of our dystopian nightmares, we tend to imagine a world where someday AI becomes sentient and turns on humanity for our cruelty and enslavement of this emerging technology. And in these nightmares, we're usually not just thinking about the underlying data and software threats, but rather the fully realized robot army physically coming to exact their revenge on us. In this new sci-fi thriller, the United States exists in that nightmare and decides to be proactive by not only hunting down and killing all AI, but also by seeking out and eliminating the creator. I'm Ronald Young Jr., and I'm leaving the theater. All right, this is Ronald, and I am leaving the theater after seeing The Creator. The Creator, written by Gareth Edwards and Chris Weitz, directed by Gareth Edwards, starring John David Washington, Madeline Yuna, Gemma Chan, Ken Watanabe, Sturgill Simpson, and Allison Janney. I am not here alone. I am here with
Pamela Perez.
Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Okay, so The Creator is a movie about the near future. I think it's 2065, if I'm not mistaken, in which AI is perceived as sentient and it has been integrated into our lives, and there are bots and we are using it. However, the United States government, due to what chalks up to be a misunderstanding, has decided to hunt down AI to the ends of the earth and destroy all of it. A lot of it which resides in New Asia, which is, I guess, kind of some sort of Asia conglomerate. I'm assuming that China absorbed everything around it and they called themselves New Asia. And they are very much for AI, which kind of represents a new world war, if you will. That's kind of the plot. And John David Washington is trying to save a child who is there to be the savior of all AI. Pamela Perez, what did you think of this movie?
This is like quintessential. If I could come on your podcast and watch a movie, it would be this type of movie all the time, every time. Every movie coming out should be similar to this movie.
I agree. I think for the most part, I don't think we're going to, for the last couple of movies, it seems like we haven't been on the same page.
Yeah.
On this one, I think we're going to be at least in the same chapter.
Yeah, agreed.
Because I don't think it was bad. I think it was good. I think they could have done a little bit more, but, visually, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it felt like there was a movie called Elysium. There was a movie called District 11, 13,
so, yeah.
something? District 9. It was called District 9. It reminded me of those movies, just a very industrialized future vibe, which I always feel like is a more realistic look at what the future would look like in most of those cases. So I enjoyed that. I thought the acting was great. This is probably a movie that I enjoyed John David Washington the most in, because it feels like we got the full range of his emotions. Like, a lot of times he plays a lot of cold, calculated, unfeeling characters that are just either smooth. And this, it felt like harkened back to more of his days when he was on Ballers and when he was Ricky, whatever his last name was, on Ballers, where you're just getting more of him. So it was good. I will say it seemed like they shied away from a political conflict that would exist if the United States government was hunting down and on other people's sovereign land and killing everything in their sight. That felt kind of rough to watch.
Yeah, it was. There were parts that felt incredibly intense and made me physically uncomfortable. Overall, I also felt like there was one section where they like rushed it for whatever reason, and I'm not quite sure how that happened.
Was it early in the movie or late in the movie?
Late in the movie, like I thought we were nearing the end, and I was like, whoa, they're really just rushing the end here, even though we've taken a lot of time to like build up all these characters and follow them. The little girl in the movie is incredibly endearing and such a great actress.
Yeah, very easy to watch on the screen. Like they definitely, you could tell that they got this little girl because she is adorable, and she is like just, you want to keep watching her on the screen.
Yeah, so you're watching her, you're falling in love with her, you're understanding what's going on underneath the surface level of what they've told you the plot line is. And then you just get to this one section where they just like plow through the plot line for, I don't know, like 10 minutes. And I was worried that that's how the movie was going to end. It kind of recuperated, but those few minutes, I don't know.
I kind of agree with that. I think for me, I would zoom out further and say there was just pacing issues all throughout the movie, because there were parts in the beginning where I felt like we were moving at a good pace, and then it felt like they were moving at a light speed pace, and then they started moving at a snail's pace. Really. Yeah, and then there was a scene in which he begins to endear himself, or the child and he begin to endear themselves to each other, and I felt like they rushed that a little bit. Like I would have liked to have seen like something that kind of drew them together that made more sense, because on its face, it didn't make sense that these two would just be connected, except for something that they revealed towards the end, which I felt like I saw coming. And I don't know if you did.
I did also, but I agree that the pacing throughout the movie was just like, however, overall, I still really enjoyed it. Like that to me isn't a reason to not watch it, but it made me also feel like maybe it should have been a show. It was amazing as a movie, but maybe we could have cut it up instead.
And I think when I got to the end, for me, I felt a little empty. Mm-hmm. I felt like I don't know what the message or the point was, or what they tried to reveal to us. And this is done by the same person who did Rogue One. I think it's from the director of Rogue One, if I'm not mistaken, which I loved. And it feels like if there's a bit of nihilism when it comes to Rogue One, it feels appropriate, because where Rogue One begins, the Star Wars saga, where Rogue One ends, the Star Wars saga begins. So watching this one, I remember thinking, when we get to the end of the film, I'm just like, oh, is this, and I know we're in a franchise era, and maybe I'm just a bad movie watcher, but I remember thinking, oh, okay, well, I'm definitely going to forget about this movie. Like, I don't think it's going to be one that I like return to that makes me think over and over again. And even now, like, there's just little nuance to it where I'm just like, I don't expect to see this movie again or hear about it again.
Yeah, which is a bummer, because I think it really was a recipe to be Oscar worthy. Like you were talking about, visually, it's stunning. The cinematography is incredible. The acting is great.
And I could see it being up in those categories.
Absolutely, yeah. I agree with
especially
you.
Cinematography.
Yes, 100%. If I don't, I would be shocked to not see it there.
Yeah.
However, beyond this year, I don't know that it'll have the lasting impact that it should have had.
I absolutely agree. I think, I'm just interested to see where it goes. But it wasn't bad. No. With all of that in mind, what would you rate this movie of 5 stars?
I think I would give this one 4, just a straight 4.
I think it doesn't quite get to 4 for me. I think it's a 3.5. But I think, like, I'm not mad at a 4, mostly because I'm like, there were parts in it I was like, well, is this a 4-star movie? But I'm fairly certain if I watched it again, it would probably settle in around 3.5. I remember thinking towards the end, I remember thinking, are there any cool parts of this movie that I really want to watch again? Like, for instance, another John David Washington movie, Tenet. Yeah. I wanted to watch that over and over again because there's so many cool, like, little sequences they're doing. We didn't get any of that in this. Yeah. It's just all, like, kind of like, blob of fighting and blob of killing and carnage and all that. And it felt very dour at those times. So it just made me not want to watch it again. Which is weird, because I know 3 stars typically that I would watch it again. Yeah. This is, I'd say, a 3.5 star movie that I would not watch again.
Yeah. I would watch it again, but I would likely be like, oh, brother, come watch this with me at my place. And then I'm on my phone like 35+% of the movie.
I agree. I think this is definitely a scrolly movie. Yeah.
Even though, again, really like worth seeing in the movie theater. I hadn't heard anything about it. I hadn't seen the trailer. So going in blind maybe was helpful to me, but just recommending it to moviegoers, yes, go see it. Just don't know that it has like longevity, deep impact, even though I cried at the end, but I'm just a crier. And also what they were portraying was cry-worthy, but just for that scene and that moment.
And I think that's the thing that gets me. I'm like, I've noticed that movies are very good, and some of these movies are very good at drawing emotion, extracting emotion. But they're after that, it's just like,
But for fun. It's like their game that they're playing to be like, who will cry? All of you.
Yeah, which makes sense. I'm like, it is emotional to watch it. Even I teared up. But it's like, I'm not a monster, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure.
All right, well, I give it 3.5. Pam gives it 4. And with that, Leaving the Theater is a production of Oh It's Big Round Studios. Alexandra Ketch of Bias Studios mixes the show. Thank you, Alex. Show art from Heather Wilder. Theme music by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. For more information about the creator or Pamela Perez, check out our show notes. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, or Threads at Oh It's Big Ron. That's at OHITSBIGRON. You can find out more about this show and other Oh It's Big Ron Studios shows by following us on Instagram at Oh It's Big Ron Studios and on Twitter at Oh It's Big Ron Stu. Leaving the Theater will be back soon. Thanks for listening. And thanks for being on the show.
Always. 'Tis my joy.